Give me just a few minutes and I'll explain how to recognize trauma in yourself and in others. Now, why would you want to do that? Well, there's two reasons. The first reason is that trauma has actually become kind of a buzzword. Everybody gets traumatized, everyone has trauma, and when they say that, people usually use the term trauma in the wrong way, meaning that trauma is not something that has annoyed you yesterday or something that has made you feel sad the day before. Trauma is much more serious than that. And the second reason is that you should be aware of um, where someone might have experienced trauma so that you know to handle the situation more tactfully, approach it much more carefully. You don't go around noticing these signs in a person and saying, you got trauma, you're traumatized. That's not the way to handle these things. um, uh, the fact that you observe signs of trauma in someone means you should be all the more careful about how you handle the situation and how you talk to that person. And that actually also applies to you as well. So, if you have no idea who I am, my name is Claudiu Manea. I'm a psychologist and a therapist. And for the past 10 years, I've been helping people just like you have aligned lives and live in peace, have powerful families, and inspired businesses. Now, like I said, trauma is not something to be dealt with lightly. And there are actually three signs that predict with a pretty high confidence rate the fact that there is some traumatic event or some trauma in that person's life. And this applies to you and to the people that you talk to as well. And all of these three signs have to do with the person's reaction to a certain topic. And the first is that they have a strong emotional response. Now, this could go either way. For instance, you might not be surprised to hear that when someone gets angry, that might be a sign that there is something traumatic in that topic for them. However, when someone constantly jokes around a subject or constantly laughs about something that happened to them, a lot of times they are uh, trying to cover up a traumatic event. And this happens because we as humans, we use humor to distance ourselves from whatever has happened to us, and we try to use humor to deal with the situation. So not always just because someone laughs about it does it mean that that event hasn't affected them in any way. So be very careful and don't go misinterpreting their reaction. And of course, aside from getting angry, laughing about it, there's other emotional responses that someone can have. They might get sad, they might get uneasy, and if you look at someone, sometimes you get a feeling that that they don't feel at home in their body anymore. That's the feeling of uneasiness, and that usually signals the fact that the discussion has reached a pretty delicate subject. The second sign is denial, meaning that the person tells you there's nothing there. And I have experienced this in therapy a lot. I asked at one point, how was the relationship with your parents, with your mother, with your father, and so on. And I've had a lot of people tell me, there's nothing there. I had a great relationship with my parents. We got along exceptionally well my entire life. Now we have a very strong relationship and all of that. And as therapy progresses, sometimes a year or even more further down the road, it turns up that their relationship wasn't all that great, that their father behaved in some way that really affected them, their mother behaved in a different way, but that also affected them. So just because someone tells you there's nothing there, it doesn't mean that there is nothing there. And in my experience, it actually means that there is something there. Otherwise, they wouldn't feel the need to try um, to point you in another direction. Okay, they wouldn't feel the need um, to divert your attention somewhere else. So so this denial is the second factor. The third is getting defensive, meaning that they tell you, I don't want to talk about this, I can't talk about this, I refuse to talk about this. Getting defensive means there is something there, and there is something there to the point where the person refuses even to touch upon the subject. And that's an indicator that there is something pretty major happening there. Now, like I said, these signs pinpoint with a pretty high degree of accuracy that there is something traumatic happening to that person. These signs apply to other people that you talk with, and they apply to you as well. So if you detect some of these signs in the people that you deal with throughout the day, don't go telling them, you're traumatized, you should go in therapy, you should talk to someone about that. That's really irresponsible to do, and especially if you're not a mental health professional, you're really not supposed to put diagnosis and to be so intrusive with someone. You are at that point, you are being intrusive, you're being obnoxious probably, and it's really not your place to do that. If, however, you feel that you need to say something, look for an opportunity where when the person is relaxed, you when you feel like they might be open to at least talking a little bit about the subject, and maybe tell them with as carefully as you can that maybe you should talk to someone about that, see what that is all about, and try to work through it in some way. And they, at that point, they might be open to the idea. But if you don't choose your moment carefully, you're going to do more harm than good. And like I said, this also applies to you. So if it applies to you, maybe now is not the perfect moment to address it, although there is a case to be made there on when that right moment is really going to happen, if it's really going to happen anytime in the future. But whether it's the right moment or not, for you as well, take into account that maybe you should talk to someone about that, because we uh, um, we drag trauma with us for years, for decades even, and we think that we're doing fine, and we think that it's not going to come back and bite us, but it usually does, because all of these things do not magically get resolved by themselves. It's uh, uh, if you don't address it, and if you don't handle it appropriately, it's not going to heal by itself. So that's what I had for you today. If you found it interesting, please don't forget to hit subscribe and ring notification bell so you get notified whenever I post something new. Anyway, thank you for making it up until the end, and I hope you have a great day moving forward. Bye.